And with that, we are thrilled to welcome Coach Robinson to the show. His Vikings have won 13 in a row. That is the second longest win streak in the entire country. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Doing well.
Coach, I don't think we're doing as well as you are. You've got your Vikings on a real roll here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you're one away from the team record for consecutive wins. Is that right? The team record's 14?
Man, that's what they tell me.
So now, as you're looking forward, I made a crazy statement on the air on Friday. We were talking about your club. And I said, and you're going to get mad at me for this, Coach. I said, I hope they lose before the tournament starts. And I got some nasty email from some fans. One Viking fan said, yo, what's wrong with you? How could you ever say that? I'm superstitious. I would rather, because, there's pressure that comes with that win streak. And we know that in your league, in the Horizon League, you have to win that tournament to get that bid. I just think if you take the pressure of the losing streak off the table, it lessens the pressure on everybody because there's already enough pressure to win the tournament. Tell me I'm retarded and crazy and dumb, and why would you ever say that?
Well, I can understand why you would say that. But when you're in the middle of it, you need to, our focus has to be the next game, put our best foot forward, and all those type of things. And so, I'm not sitting here trying to look too far down the line and say, well, we need to drop one so we can get back right. Man, I say we ride the momentum and we do what we do every single day and we live with the results.
Do you talk about the streak with them?
The guys, we talk about it briefly after the game. The guys all celebrate it. And then once we get back together as a group, whether it's the next day or we give them the day off, we move on. We do what we call our culture clips of the last game, how we impacted each other, how we played for one another, and then we move on from there. We celebrate the win, but we also just move on to the next game.
Coach, I'm from a mid-major school. I went to Ohio University in the MAC, and you guys are in the Horizon League. And when you look at the landscape and climate, we hear so much about the transfer portal. We hear so much about NIL. How does that affect you on a mid-major level in terms of what the portal is and how you get players and players coming in and out? And has that changed your recruiting mix any, or are you guys used to it being a mid-major school because, NIL is something that was at a mid-major is something very rare for us?
Right. Well, that's a great question. Our recruiting efforts hadn't really changed. I do feel like the transfer portal and NIL has impacted everyone in college basketball. For us, where we are, we're not going to get in a bidding war. We do have NIL, but we're not going to get in a bidding war. So we don't lead in our recruiting with NIL. We still, talk to our recruits and their parents about transformational experience, right? Building great relationships, those type of things. And then NIL is just a bonus for it. And so we still, try to make sure we have those tight relationships and not make it be as transactional as, it could be at, a higher level.
Coach, I don't remember where, at the beginning of the season, where was Cleveland State picked by the media or whatever these polls? Because I believe Green Bay was picked to win the league maybe, or way up there. Where were you guys?
So we were picked seventh. We were picked seventh. Yeah, we were picked seventh. We had not one of our guys were picked on the first or second team all league preseason selections. I can see why. I didn't think we would be seventh. I felt like the guys we had returning that played enough last year, and then the recruits we brought in, we wouldn't be a seventh place team. But we lost 70% of our scoring last year, and we lost 60% of our rebounding.
Wow. So for people that haven't seen you guys play, people are tuning in and watching this and aren't totally familiar with how you're doing this. Take us through, how have you done this? How have you built this season out? And just explain to us how you've been able to get to where you are.
Well, it's really been a collective effort. We had 6 guys returning from last year. 4 of those guys that really played. We had two of those guys that returned were redshirt guys, and so the 4 guys that played on last year's team, they were like our hard hat guys. They came in. Dylan Arnett was a starter, but he was just blue collar and fit in. Kevin Smith and Chase Robinson, those 2 guys were 6th and 7th men. So those guys were our foundation. And then the guys that we brought in, the transfers we brought in, those guys have made an immediate impact. But it took a little bit. The month of November for us was pretty tough. We had 9 games. In the month of November, we had 2 5-day road trips.
Wow.
Now, there wasn't a ton of practice time there, but there was a lot of time for us to be on the road, to come closer together and fight through some things. And we had a pretty tough non-conference schedule, playing at Minnesota, at K-State. And then we had at Minnesota, at K-State, and then we had Kent State here. And so, those were all tough games for us.
How would you describe your team to someone who hasn't spent a lot of time watching them? Like, what is the strength of your team? What's their character collectively?
Yeah, so we're a defensive oriented team. Man, we set the tone with our defense. Man, our team is scrappy and gritty. And so, if someone's for the first time seeing our team, what will jump out to them, I would believe, would be, man, the effort that we play with defensively, how well we fly around, how physical we are. And then we create our own energy. Like, our bench energy is live, is connected, and our guys have fun playing with each other. I mean, this is like literally a group that plays for each other. We don't have one superstar that we play through. We've got, a collection of guys that are, that really complement each other. And so that's been the fun part for me, to, develop guys all the way around. So the last couple of years we had Tristan and Aruna, and he was just kind of a cut above the rest of our guys. And so we knew we would run through him. But now, we've got a collection of guys that help us night in and night out. There's been guys that stepped up, for us every night. Just depends on the situation.
Coach, one of the things, college football playoffs is getting to a point where the college football playoffs was a really big thing. But, before that, March Madness in the conference championships for basketball was the thing, and it still is. When when some of the at-large teams in the bigger conferences, they may get in, as Jay mentioned earlier, you guys in mid-majors have to win that conference tournament to get that at-large bid. How do you go about preparing your kids for, every single game is March Madness? So, people start, March Madness don't start like in March. It starts in these tournaments. So how do you approach that? How do you guys coach that that expectation level and trying to get it into the, tourney at 64?
Right, man. That's, when I first got here a couple years ago, man, that's something that I learned down the stretch, because we were in a similar situation where we were fighting for, the last regular season game of the year, we were playing for first place. And, man, mounting up to that, we knew we had to win out to have a chance to tie for first. And so that pressure started mounting, the month of February, every game out. You had to prepare like, it's win or go home. And so, the players at this level, they get used to it. And for us, you can't look too far ahead. Like, you have to really, really control what's ahead of you. Coming from the Big 12, 9 years in the Big 12, and, you do a great job in your league. You finish above 500 or right at 500. You're in the NCAA tournament. That you're just jockeying for a good seed, and it's a different look at this level. And, man, but what you see, though, is, man, these guys play so hard. They give it up for one another. And, man, I've got great appreciation for our players and, coaches at this level.
Coach, Saturday you've got a home game that I know you'd love to get a lot of the folks out to watch. Give us the pitch on why folks should come out Saturday and watch.
All right. So Wednesday night we're going to be at NKU, and we've got to take our show on the road. We got to beat NKU, and then when we come home Saturday, we need the Wolstein fired up. Okay, we've got some loyal fans. Our fan base has been showing up here lately, but man, we've got to have a great crowd for Saturday night, because Milwaukee, going down the stretch, Milwaukee will be a team. They gave us our first loss in conference play. Man, they're going to be a tough out for us, and we're going to need that home court advantage for sure.
Well, we'll make sure people get out there. Coach, we'll get you out of here on this one, but when I was making your bio for the graphic this morning, I looked at some of the previous stops you had coached, and you were at Iowa State before making your way over to Cleveland State, and your time at Iowa State lined up with Cleveland Cavaliers forward George Niang's time at Iowa State. So I was wondering if you could give us a little insight on the college minivan, what George was like back at Iowa State, and has anything he's done in the NBA surprised you at this point?
Man, nothing he's done in the NBA has surprised me. Man, this guy was the hardest worker that I ever seen. George he raised the level of everyone in the gym. He's a fearless leader. His confidence and his swag on game night was unreal. Man, we had some tough battles in the Big 12. Man, we knocked off number 1 Oklahoma that year. We beat Kansas that year, and George was, he was the Karl Malone forward of the year, and so he was the best power forward in college basketball. But I knew George was going to be have a long pro career because of how he worked in college. This guy would work out 3 times a day. He's a fierce competitor. I can't say enough about George. As a matter of fact, George was here at the Wolstein today getting shots up this morning.
Really?
He's a worker, man. He came in this morning at 10:30 and got shots in our oxygen.
But that's like, don't they got a facility or something, Jason? He just goes around and shoots at different gyms.
Well, if you don't want to go all the way to Independence,
wow,
this
man! Shout out to George, man.
Yeah, no, George is a great ambassador for. He was a great ambassador for Iowa State, and I know what he's doing here in Cleveland. He represents the organization and the community with the utmost. I got a ton of respect for him.
If George Niang was somehow eligible to play in college and committed to the Cleveland State Vikings right now, and you put current day George Niang on the Vikings, are we talking Final Four here, Coach?
Hey,
that's wild.
It wouldn't be out of question, because I would feed him down every time down. I would be saying, George, you got it, buddy. Whatever. He would make the right play.
The George Niang offense. Coach, it's been really fun to watch you this season, particularly during this winning streak. We're all pulling for you. We can't wait for the tournament, too.
Let's get to that tournament.
Cleveland State, we talked about this Friday. Cleveland State has had a nice little history of getting in the tournament and making their presence felt. We wish you nothing but the best this year, the rest of the regular season, into the conference tournament, and then hopefully into the NCAA tournament.
Hey, thanks for having us on, guys, and we appreciate your support. And we're looking forward to this last stretch of the season.